Another important difference is that a learner wants to learn directly from the source. A student usually learns from the interpretation of the source. Let me explain. I learn English. And when I teach English, I always remind the people I work with that we want to be learning directly from the source. What is the source for us if we want to get better at speaking English? If we want to achieve native-like fluency, our source is all the native speakers that speak English from the day they were born. I should probably make a correction here. I'm not interested in learning from all the native speakers in the world. I'm interested in learning from the educated native speakers that I want to learn from. I'm interested in learning from native speakers who have something interesting to say, who know how to express their thoughts, who can communicate with clarity and expression. Because there are a lot of boring speakers, and I do not want to learn from them. I made a very conscious decision to sound American. I practice American English, which means I consciously choose not to watch YouTube videos where British speakers, English people from England, explain pronunciation or grammar or teach you English. That's my conscious decision. I don't want to focus on this because I'm focusing on practicing my American English. It's my decision. I'm not saying that you need to do the same, but it helps me to filter the information that is around, and it helps me make more focused decisions. Thus, people who speak American English become my source. I want to learn from them. However, if British people have something interesting to say, if they're great public speakers, good performers, if they can say a lot in few words, of course I'm going to learn from them. But what I'm going to learn from them is different. I'm going to learn from them how to be clear, how to be brief, how to explain my ideas using few words. I hope you get the point. What a student wants instead is they want a very clear interpretation of the source. Let me give you some examples. Any English textbook is an interpretation of the source. The source will be a grammar book written by native speakers for native speakers, not a grammar book written for non-native speakers of English. A YouTube video on grammar, on English grammar, is an interpretation of the source. The source will be the grammar book written by native speakers and for native speakers, or maybe a native speaking professor who teaches grammar. But again, they teach native speakers, not non-native speakers. The source will be the language itself. When you look at the language, when you look at how educated people speak, when you see how books are written, when you read a lot of text in English and you see patterns, you see how sentences are built, you see how grammar works when you use the language, when you read it, when you speak it, when you listen to it. If you are at the stage where you're able to see patterns in abstract things, if you have this abstract thinking, for example, I do have this skill, I can see a lot of patterns and a huge amount of abstract information. I see very structured patterns, and I'm able to grab them, to see them, to apply them, and to structure them my own way. This is also the source, how people use the language. Any English teacher is the interpretation of the source. The source will be native speakers, not one person, but many, many, many native speakers who confirm what your teacher says. Because a student will believe a teacher. If a teacher says so, and a lot of students don't bother checking information because they remember something their school teacher used to say, and they remember it so well that they absolutely believe this information. They haven't checked this information ever since. Maybe their teacher made a mistake, because teachers also make mistakes. Maybe she said something that wasn't true. Or maybe they remembered this information incorrectly. That is also very possible. So what a student never does is they never question themselves. I'm not saying that you should doubt yourself, but you should always question yourself. Does this sound correct? Do I remember where I learned this? Am I confident that this is how it works? These are the questions that can lead to correct answers. These are not doubts. These are questions. The more good questions you can ask yourself, the better learner you will be.